Hello everybody. I decided to do a video. I don't do that often, but I said let me try this month. I just needed to talk it out rather than write it. Well, for you, those of you who don't know me, I am Monique Quachu, and amongst other things, I do a blog post a month on moniquesmusings.blogspot.com. It's just a place where I rant longer than I do on Facebook, and I share my thoughts. It's called musings. I share my thoughts and my opinions on everything and anything, usually social commentary. I have a page where I do posts kind of like on my Christian journey. And if you are a professional contact on LinkedIn, you also know I do something similar on LinkedIn. I do short articles on my career journey or lessons I've learned as I'm struggling with growing or developing a career on the continent, on the African continent, specifically Cameroon. So this month, I decided I'm going to merge what I typically do for LinkedIn with my musings because they kind of intertwine this month. And what has been going through my head is, well, the ways in which we look at employment in Cameroon. Now, if you want to talk about work and working in Cameroon, or generally employment, the most common problem, what usually comes up is that, oh, we don't have enough jobs. The employment sector is difficult, is corrupt, and tribalistic, and so on and so forth. The problem is getting the employment, or that's what we are made to believe. Getting employed is the problem. And, or in certain cases, some people have started bringing up issues with employers harassment on the job or underemployment, somebody having a degree, a master's degree in biochemistry, but because of the situation, he is doing a petty trading or working at MTN and just basically doing SIM card registration, that kind of thing. Those are the problems that come up. But this month, I've something kept well, something kept nagging at me, predominantly because I'm out of the country at the moment. I'm in South Africa, and as I do when I leave the country, I try to take up opportunities towards building skills that I could use when I return home, or getting things that I know I'll need when I return home. And one of those skills I was bent to pick up during my PhD is teaching, because I went into teaching as a volunteer. The only teaching I had done before returning home with my master's was volunteering for Team Up in the UK, and not really that much, or that was tutoring and at secondary school level. What I realized upon, and it's not really something that you need to realize, it's something we all know. It's one thing to have the knowledge, and it's another thing to be able to pass it on to somebody. I don't think our system recognizes this, amongst many other things. And this is not limited to education. It's not limited to me as a lecturer. It's everywhere. We have a system where we don't grow. Since employment is such a problem, getting employed in the first place is such a problem. Once people get employed, they remain where they are. And either they remain where they are because of tribalism, somebody else is getting an appointment, and or somebody else, or well, just a bad system, a lack of meritocracy. No, the person that's working harder doesn't grow, or simply because there's nothing challenging them to do it, to leave that comfort zone. So you can see somebody working at the same job, the same office job. You were employed as a secretary in 1997, and you have been there to the point that you get retired. It's only by chance if you ever learn to, let's say, use social media or use Google Drive. This new technology comes up, and quite frankly, you've been doing without it, so you keep doing without it. We go into our offices, you go into ministries, and there are people who learn to type on a typewriter and don't know how to scan a document or to attach a document or to transfer a document on a USB key. I've seen that with colleagues at the University of Boya. And I'm not saying this to embarrass anybody, but I think it's something we need to look into. Are we growing? When you've been employed, do you look at how you could take up a course on Coursera, for example, or attend any trainings outside? Another thing is our employers would allow us to, and I recognize that. But I don't know if anyone can please, if you're a boss and you're listening to this, and if you're working in Cameroon and listening to this, please invest in those that are working for you. I had the best experience before before I left. Coincidentally, if he had come sooner, maybe I would have left. But coincidentally, just before I left, I had a new boss, and he has literally breathed new air into our department because he is insisting that all his staff know how to use computers. All his staff know how to use the internet. All his staff use social media to communicate with him. Perhaps because he comes from an ICT background, but still, it's something that I appreciated because every year we have new students. Every year new technology comes up. Every year new illnesses pop up, but you do not hear of trainings within the hospital. Are there refresher courses? Do the nurses get refreshed? Is there anything to say these people should learn new skills because there are new problems? Is there any refresher course for the staff who are teaching teaching secondary schools, teaching and marking the GCE? Do they have refresher courses for rubrics or anything? And as I consider the skills I'm picking up here, I think if we're going to say we're going to develop at all, and I'm not even saying develop according to, because quite frankly, I think we're fooling ourselves if we want to compare with a developing country. If somebody is already at point B and you are still at zero, by the time you reach point A, that person will be at point D. But still, we're trying to reach point B. And if we have to reach point B, we're going to have to look at what exactly is the problem once they're employed. I don't think, yes, we might have to say, oh, civil servants, they're there for the matricule, and when they are there, they are snobbish and they are rude. But we also have to admit that they are not challenged, as the system keeps them that way. Yes, they are not challenged. Nobody is going to give you higher mark or a raise if you do this better than the other person. More likely, if you do something even good, you might get derided for it. Still, it's up to us. And there's that saying, improvement begins with I. It's up to us. If you want to grow, if you know your job isn't challenging, but there's a skill you probably should know, try and get that skill. And there are loads of resources online now to get those skills. So if we're spending that time on Facebook, we could spend that time to get those skills as well. And this includes LinkedIn, which I will be doing a LinkedIn post attached to this video. And so I just left a workshop. I had no training. I'm going to use myself as an example. I had no training when I returned to Cameroon, but I had a desire to teach. No official training as a lecturer. Nobody trains us. What comes with a certain level of education is the assumption that you understand this enough. You have defended this topic, so you understand this topic enough to be able to pass on the knowledge. That is not always the case. That makes your classroom boring because that defense was 30 minutes. And you try to summarize about 80,000 words. If it's a master's, 20,000 words in that 30 minutes. So how are you going to condense? You're going to keep doing that to young people in the classroom who have a very limited attention spans. Nothing interesting. we need new ways to teach. That's essentially it. And we're not teaching them. I hope, and it's something I hope I return home to advocate for, that we also develop something like a center of teaching and learning. That even if, yes, you can send somebody with a doctorate to go to ENS or to go to just training to come pick up teaching skills, but there can be um, lessons on pedagogy, on making rubrics, on making lesson plans interesting, or on just structuring the classrooms in such a way that we could relate to the students better. And these are things, very minute things that matter in the long run, because it's only when you, and I think it's only when you love what you do, love teaching, that you actually notice these things. Or else, if you're just there for the paycheck at the end of the month, well, you might not care as long as the students give you back what you want at the end of the day. But if you're really interested in them learning and in their learning process, you will care. It will matter. And again, this is not limited to teaching. If you're really passionate about translating, for example, you care about the latest software for that makes that easier. And if you know how to use that software, if you're interested in health, for example, you care about the latest innovations in health and what could be done and how you can pass on that information. So it applies to all of us. And I think we need to look into ourselves. Are you growing? Ask yourself, are you growing in your work? Are you growing in the skill? Or are you just okay with the mediocrity? Because we are, a lot of us are. Since it's okay, you moved on to from 3 to form 4. You moved from form 3 to form 4 with a grade point average of 11, 10, even 9.9. So as long as you moved, as long as you get paid, it's okay. The mediocrity is okay. And I caught myself with that mediocrity recently. I have been okay with it to a certain level. I think I am okay. You just say, I don't need to do more than this, although no more is necessary to excel. So that's just my musings for this month. And leave me a comment if you think of something you might want to add or something I should consider. Thank you.